if you like teaching, be a CFI. Be a CFI, enjoy passing on the skills you've learned and teach. If you don't like teaching, please avoid being a CFI. We've all had an instructor who did not like instructing. I mean, I can tell you all the stories from everybody coming through. Everybody's had that. Don't be that guy. Go find something you love to do.
Hey, Geoff, thank you so much for coming and making some time to come fly with Trent here on the YouTubes. So let's start off by introducing you to the audience. What do you do today? What's your role, and who are you, and so forth?
As using an FAA term, my role at Silver Airways is multifaceted. My title is Assistant Director Operations. I oversee the flight operations side of the airline. I'm also a captain here at Silver Airways. So my days can range from being a backup pilot and going out and flying for the day as a captain or first officer, or dealing with the rewriting of our manuals, policies, procedures, and keeping the FAA happy.
Okay, and for people who aren't familiar with Silver Airlines, roughly what do you fly? How big are you guys, and so forth?
Well, Silver Airways is the only independent regional airline left in the country. We are not owned by anybody. We are owned by ourselves. So we fly ATR aircraft. We fly the 76 and the 46.
Hmm.
One I call the school bus, which is the 72 passenger, and then we have the little rocket. It's a 40 passenger. It's a little shorter, flies a little faster, but we fly wonderful. These are the most high tech aircraft on the market right now.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'm sure the pilots love flying them.
Yeah, and we fly, just so you know, we fly as far north as Nashville, Tennessee, as far west as New Orleans. We have bases in San Juan, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and
Hmm.
Orlando. We fly all through the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and so we're warm weather flyers. We try to avoid the cold, so most of us enjoy where we're at. The thing about Silver is quality of life is what we put first here for our pilots and for our flight crews, which is kind of different from the other regionals. A lot say it, but we live it. We do a lot of day
Hmm.
trips, so you're not away at night. You're home with your family. Our planes are very unique in their color. They are fuchsia. They're bright pink.
Hmm.
So we stand out on the ramp. Everyone hears us coming in because it's a different sound. It's not the typical jet. It's a turboprop. We get into the islands and the smaller runways. The benefit of turboprops is too, we fly a little slower, so it's easier for us to get in when there's weather conditions that the jets that are flying quite a bit faster than us can't see the runways and get into.
Got it. Okay. And for context for you, for the rest of my questions, the audience, my core audience, is typically what I call the career 2.0 guys and gals. Analytics tells me it's a big skew to guys, so I'll probably say guys more than I say gals in the
That's
interview
fine.
today. But they're looking for advice and guidance on how to further their career 2.0 as a pilot. So
Okay.
let's go back and talk about a little bit about your career as a pilot. So when did you get started, first of all?
I was 14 years old.
Wow.
I lived down the street from Portland International Airport growing up, and I always loved airplanes. And so I always kind of had a fascination for them. My dad got a business PIF to do a demo flight. And he's my dad's not a huge aviator. He was an electrician by trade. My mom was postal employee. So my career path in aviation was very, very different, as I didn't have a role model or someone pointing me in the right direction along the way. But I did
Hmm.
an intro flight. Absolutely loved it. The field that I flew on is now closed and no longer exists. But I got into an aviation program in my high school and learned all about different aspects of aviation, from maintenance to being A&P, IA pilot. It was a wide variety program that really was an introduction into the industry. Afterwards, high school, I went into the Navy. Was on S3s. The Abraham Lincoln and Kitty Hawk served on two different carriers on an air wing
Hmm.
squadron. So I made enough money back then, because this is the 90, 94, 95 era. I made enough money to fly every 2 weeks, and we had a flying club on base. So I could go back, rent the plane for an hour, go up with an instructor, and every 2 weeks I was chipping away to get my private pilot's license.
Oh
So
man.
I had a really cool skipper when I was in the Navy. I got brought in to see the man one day, and he heard me on the radio flying, and I got called up, had to get my dress uniform, go up to see him. I thought I was in trouble, and he was, "What are you doing on the back of base?" I'm like, there were two parts of North Island, one where everyone kind of partied at night and sat around the bonfire and drank, and the other part was the flying club. So I had no idea what he was talking about. And long story short, he got me backseat qualified in the S3s as an in-flight troubleshooter. So I got to fly in S3s, which was pretty cool. That plane's
Yeah, I'll
long
bet.
gone and decommissioned now. But my love for aviation just continued after I got out of the Navy. I drove truck over the road because I couldn't afford flight school. I lived out of that semi just to put money away for school. Um, in 97, 98, started flying at West Wind Aviation out of Deer Valley Airport in Arizona, which I believe it's West Wind Flight Academy or something now. That it's changed a few times, but
Hmm.
got a job flying checks for Bank of America. Did that for a little bit. Then I got a corporate flying job up in Oregon, flying a twin Navajo and King Air as a first, FO.
So
And
hold on, let's pause. I want
okay,
to dig a little deeper. So you obviously went through all of your training. You got a commercial license.
yes,
You
yes,
were living in the truck, funding that,
yeah.
scraping by on ramen noodles,
Oh,
doing what you
by
needed to
far,
do to pursue your
yeah.
dream. At 250 hours or somewhere thereabouts, did you ever become an instructor, or did you get the job flying checks around first?
So, funny story on that. I ran out of money getting my CFI, and like
Okay.
a lot of people do. Availability, get a loan at the time wasn't there, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to continue. I was still working like a part-time job, waiting tables while I was going through flight school, doing everything to keep it going because, as we all know, flight school is very expensive. Um,
Hmm.
was at the airport restaurant with a friend of mine having lunch, and it's kind of talking about the situation, and happened to be another person sitting right across from us that said, "Hey guys, I got an opportunity for you." And right time, right place, and we ended up
Wow.
sitting right seat, both of us, on a twin Navajo. So, and this was before digital processing. We actually had to fly checks around. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a cool gig for a short time. So,
Yeah.
um,
No kidding.
yeah. So I never actually got my CFI because of that. While I was doing corporate flying up, and I went back to Oregon and started doing corporate flying for a twin Navajo and a King Air 90, and I started working on my CFI again, and I was scheduled for my check ride with the FAA. It's like September 15th, September 16th. But on September 11th, the country had a huge change in aviation, and
Hmm.
my knowledge level was there, but the ability to take the exam was not with the FAA. They were pushing it out 6 months, and I'm like, "There's no way, no way." And in the process, the company I was flying for closed the doors, and I was looking for pilot work anywhere. Went to Alaska with a backpack, trying to find anything. There was nothing. You couldn't give your services away just to fly to build hours. Again, I was a low time pilot at the time. Found the Arizona Highway Patrol was hiring, so I applied. There was a great deal of people applying for the two positions that were open. You had to become an officer, do a year on the road, and then you could get into the air unit. So I said, well, what else am I going to do? Uh, you got to make a lot of sacrifices in this industry sometimes. So I did. And, it
Hmm.
was the best of both worlds. I became a state trooper, absolutely loved the career. I loved the job. And I got to fly airplanes. So at one point, I was a motor cop. So I got paid to ride motorcycles and fly airplanes. Got to blow stuff up out in the desert. That was 7 years. I thoroughly enjoyed my career. So,
Yeah.
arrest of a politician made for an abrupt career change. I arrested a politician for doing 109 in a construction zone.
Oops.
Yep. So, with workers present, long story short, that was the end of my law enforcement career.
Oh
But
man.
that's what really opened my eyes into aviation at that point, and entrepreneurship. I built a limousine business. I'm on my ninth business that I own outside of aviation.
Hmm.
Um, I had a limousine business. Everything was going great until Uber and Lyft came about.
Mhm.
and I knew the industry was going to change. So I sold off my car service and the limousine business. And one of my customers says, "Hey, why don't you open your own airline?" Like, I'm not a man of like super means. This is an industry that it is money driven. So
Yeah.
then I kicked the can and started looking and looking and looking and figured out actually I could. So I built my own 135. I do not recommend anyone ever doing that. If you do, please call me. We'll have a discussion. I'll smack you around a bit, and you walk away and never do it. If you're gonna do it, buy someone else's airline that's established. It's not for the faint of heart, and you need to have a large bankroll to build your own 135. The FAA is they don't want to give those certificates out.
Mhm.
It's hard for them to manage and maintain, so they don't want you to have them. And so trying to get something when someone doesn't want you to have it makes it even harder. But I sold my house. Crazy as it sounds, my wife let me sell everything we owned: the boat, the house, the toy hauler, the limousine business. She let me sell the house to buy an airplane. I bought a twin Cessna 402, built my own 135, doing charter flights from Fort Lauderdale to the
Wow.
Bahamas, and we moved into a travel trailer. We had the dream life, and we gave that all up to start over. And unless you have a supporting wife like I did, or you have the support behind you, it's not an easy task. So I built that up. Um, of course, we hit another roadblock with COVID. The Bahamas closed all commercial flights. I
Mhm.
knew I only had about 6 months of reserves to keep the airline open, and then we were going to have to close up shop. So we just decided to close at the beginning of COVID, and at some point I'll open it back up. But meanwhile, I was trying to bring on the young guys because my insurance requirements were 550, 500 total time, 50 multi-engine. So if
Mhm.
I had the right candidate that had 50 hour or 25 hours of multi-engine, I could bring them on to fly for me. Um,
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I did take another position running another guy's 135, doing very similar to what I did. So I was his director of operations. So I oversaw his airline while I was building mine up as well. So I was always hiring pilots. I really like bringing someone on to build their hours, and they honestly do charter flights back and forth to the Bahamas. 135 when you have passengers on board, Part 91 when you don't. So I always tell these guys, why you're coming back, file an IFR flight plan, build your IFR time. When you're,
Mhm.
Part 91, you can't do it until you have, I believe it's 1,200 hours. I haven't checked the regs in a while, but I believe 1,200 hours, and then you can start flying IFR with passengers. So I just want them to keep their IFR time going. I got a chance to mentor a whole lot of pilots coming through the my charter and the other charter operation, which I absolutely love. One of those pilots today just sent me a picture of him on his he passed his A320 check ride with American. So to
Cool.
see someone that actually walked into my office with a resume looking for work that is now on the A320 flying out of Miami, that gives me a little sense of pride. Yeah, I'm a little jealous I'm not there with him, but my career is very different than everybody else's. So,
Yeah.
you know, so in 2019, I decided to take a because having your own business and stuff isn't enough to keep you going. Well, it is mentally, but financially, I decided to start flying with Silver. I had a couple friends over here, and they kind of, hey, when are you gonna come fly for us? They finally got me there, and so I came in. Silver was flying Saabs at the time, so I went through all the training on the Saab. Got to the point of going to the sim. They pulled me off, wanted me to be the first new hire to come onto the ATRs. So I was one of the first like 8 crews that went through training for the ATR, and that's the only plane I've ever flown over here is Silver. Absolutely loved it. It's a great aircraft. So, and I left here. I did. Silver is a small airline. We have about 150, 160 pilots.
Mhm.
The difference between flying here and any other regional is you know who you're flying with every single day. You
Yep.
look at your schedule, you know the captain you're with if you're FO, you know the FO you're with if you're a captain, you know how your day is going to go. Um, I left here, I went to Allegiant for a little bit, and then wasn't wasn't a fan. Went over to Envoy and flew for them for a while. Went through their training program. I liked Envoy a lot, but again, you're just a number, and being a commuter wasn't for me. I also hold a public office as a city commissioner. I
Hmm.
was the mayor for a while, so I have a lot on my plate. But I have three children, and those are the most important thing I have in my life, and my wife and children. And commuting, I don't care if
Hmm.
you pay me $1 million a year being away from my family, it's not worth it. And so December 6th last year, I called it quits. After a little over 30 years in aviation, I was done. Like, it's too much. I'll do something else, build another business. Actually, I built a coffee shop with my wife, and we were opening a bar. Lease didn't go through, so we put a stop to that. And then the CEO of Silver calls me up and offers me a chief pilot position, which is great. That lasted about 2 weeks, and they're like, "No, we want you to do this instead. Are you interested?" The director of operations oversees all the operations of the airline. It's a very critical role for the airline. It's labor intensive. The phone never stops. It's the lifestyle that I'm used to. So we split. I split the position with at the actual DO. I'm the assistant DO, and he handles the FAA side for the most part. I handle the flight operations side, but we mix roles. There's things I'm better at, things he's better at.
Hmm.
And so I'm working on revising our manuals right now. A couple of them, he's working on revising a couple manuals. So we collaborate together to work to make Silver a better place for all of us. So, and then besides flying on top of it, um, in this role, I'm in a management position, but I oversee the recruiting, interviews for the airline.
So let's
There,
let's dive into that, because
yeah,
that's
there's
really
not a
what I
hat
want.
I don't wear at this place.
Yeah. So you've obviously had a challenging and interesting path, and I hope that that inspires some people um, to keep on trucking if they are having challenges. So, what does the hiring environment look like these days for first officers? Has it changed much in the last 6 months? Is it the same? And it doesn't
Uh,
have to just be for your airline. I'm sure you know lots of other people at other airlines. So,
I do. My LinkedIn page is a melting pot of every airline out there. So from CEOs to pilot recruiters, I have a wide variety of connections here. So the way it's changed is it is extremely competitive among the airlines. It's this is if I was 20 years younger, back in my early 20s, this is the time to be in aviation. If you're an FO and you have the hours, your opportunity is endless. You can go right to a national airline with 1,500 hours. You can go to a regional airline. Frontier, Spirit, Avelo, all those, they have the same hiring requirements now that the regional airlines do. So we're all competing for the same hiring pool of pilots. I like to see a variety of things that you've done, not just flying wise. I like to see that you've taken an interest in something else. I mean, we all can go to flight school and get our hours, but just working, some people get a little side job working in dispatch at the flight schools, or just something more than just flying. I like to see that when you come through. It's not a requirement by any means, but it
mhm.
adds to your aviation background. It's like here, I like to take our young FOs, kind of mentor them a little bit, get them in the pilot recruiting side, get them going out and doing more than just flying the plane, and most of them seem to love it. So I haven't found one that hasn't yet.
Is there a certain thing? Tell me if you could about beyond what you've just done of say the top two or three attributes that you look for, and then also the top two or three things that you want to avoid, and they could be personality traits or whatever it is when you're looking at the resume and doing the interview.
Pilot recruiters, a lot of the recruiters are not pilots. The difference is, like, for when we do the interview process, this is same across the board with all the airlines. Us that do the interviews, we want to know that we could sit in a plane with you all day. We want to know your
Mhm.
personality. If you got to have a personality, you got to be able to be someone that you could sit in a plane 8 hours with and have a conversation with, and want to spend the time with them. That is really key to the hiring process. Making that connection when you're doing your interview with the interviewees, with the interviewers, making a bond with them in that very short amount of time, I think is key to anyone interviewing for the airline. Um, Whatever it happens to be, whatever the conversation direction goes. I mean, every airline has the basic format for their interviews, the questions that they ask. They're looking for a personality. I mean, really, we can all fly airplanes. It's what we do. We love it.
Mhm.
There's not a pilot out there that won't tell you he's not a pilot or she. So we're pilots. We fly. What do you do? Fly planes. That no one's shy about that. So
Yeah.
until you get in late in your career, like I am now, I do a lot. So I don't really tell a lot what I do if I'm just meeting someone. But young pilots, though, that's a big badge. Things that check ride failures, it happens. It's life. I personally, I failed my instrument check ride because I said I was making a climbing left turn as I turned to the right. Um,
Wow.
it was one of those, and so I went back the next day. I took the check ride, over again, or at least I thought I was taking the check ride over again. We took off. We made a left turn. We made a right turn, and we came back to the field and landed. And the examiner, he's like, "You're more than prepared. You were super nervous." He goes, and I saw that. He goes, "I have no issues with your flying." So we all make mistakes. Own up. That's key. Honesty is key. If you make a mistake, that's fine. Tell us about it. What do you learn from it? I want to know
Hmm.
what you learned from it because if you didn't learn anything, you didn't do yourself any justice because we're all going to have failures in life. We're all not going to be successful at everything we do. But these check rides, they're to make sure you can meet that benchmark, and we all make mistakes. So, and just because you have a failure or two, doesn't, or even three, it doesn't even deter you from being hiring or being part of a hiring pool. Um, you were just looking for the fact that you learned something out of it. Now, if it's every single thing you do, every time you do it, that might be another issue. But
Yeah.
as long as you're forthright, you know, don't hide it. That's when you try and hide stuff, we pick up. We've been around a long time. Me and the chief
Hmm.
pilot, we do the interviews here. We've been around a long time. We pick up on it right away if you're trying to hide something. So we want to know, hey, yeah, I screwed up. This is what it is. This is what we're doing, and this is how I proceeded forward. So, um, training for the airlines is not an easy task. Once you're hired and you start as a first officer, you got to stop everything in your life, whatever's going on, relationship issues, whatever, family. You got to step away from it all, and you got to focus for those 2 3 months of your initial training. Put everything aside and just be here, be present, and study. It's your first type rating, your first ATP, and because you usually most guys get their ATP CTP
Hmm.
written done, and this will be their first check ride and their first type rating. So it is not easy. It wasn't easy for me. It's not easy for all the guys coming through. But this is one of those you just got to knuckle down, forget about life, go through training, focus. Once you're done, live life again. You know,
Hmm.
it's hard to say that, but it's I'd say it's no different than going to boot camp. You go to boot camp, you're cut off from the outside. Military boot camp, you're cut off from the outside. You're there to learn, you're there to train, and then when you're done, you're back to having a somewhat normal life again. So same with the airline industry. It's not much different.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my mentor when he went through his class at SkyWest. He was just gone, just off the radar screen
Yep,
for I can't even. I think it was 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't remember what it was. It was some amount of time, and he was away from home a huge chunk of that time, and so that's just part of the deal.
it is. It
So,
is.
so let's finish up with just general advice. You've been in the industry a long time, met a lot of people, made mistakes, learned stuff, seen other people make mistakes. For my audience of Career 2.0, we're all a little bit older. Nobody's here. I mean, I got a few listeners in their 20s, but for the most part, the
I
people
got
who
it.
are listening to this interview are probably in their 30s, 40s, or possibly even their 50s, like this guy. Um, on the way from, say, hey, I got my commercial license at 250 and my goal is eventually to get an airline job at 1500. In that journey, there's lots of paths to take.
Oh
You
yeah.
can be a CFI, which is what I'm doing. You can tow banners, pipeline patrol, survey. There's lots of stuff. What advice would you give to my audience for navigating that particular phase of their early career?
My best advice is do something you enjoy. If you like teaching, be a CFI. Be a CFI. Enjoy passing on the skills you've learned and teach. If you don't like teaching, please avoid being a CFI.
Hmm.
We've all had an instructor who did not like instructing. I mean, I can tell you all the stories from everybody coming through. Everybody's had that. Don't be that guy. Go find something you love to do. We got a couple companies here in South Florida that do banners, and they do banners. One's nationwide, one does it up and down the East Coast. They pay decent. You're not going to make you're not going to make millions towing banners, and it's honestly boring work. You're flying up and down the beach,
Hmm.
in a like Piper Pawnee or something similar, So, but when I did, like I was a highway patrol pilot, I drilled circles in the sky doing speed patrol, which is not much different than towing banners, but I loved it. Love what you do, um, and build those hours that way. If you don't love it, by the time you hit the 1,500 hours, you're not going to have the passion. It will take its toll on you
Hmm.
if you don't enjoy what you're doing. Pipeline patrol for me, just the thought of that is absolutely the most boring thing ever. I've had a couple guys come through and tell me how cool it was and how much they enjoyed it, and but I would be bored out of my mind doing something as such. So find some niche that you like in aviation to build those hours and make it happen. But make sure you're enjoying it. It's got to be something you enjoy. I think at some point along the line in any career, we all kind of get that burnout. It's like we don't love it anymore. And sometimes that happens when you're building those 1,500 hours, and it's because you're doing something you don't like. Uh, and I'm not knocking CFIs. Honestly, I wish I had my CFI. I have three kids that I want to teach to fly. So one of my buddies is going to be doing the flight instruction for him. Maybe I'll get my CFI. Who knows? Uh, add it to the box of things that I need to get done. But my advice is find something you enjoy, um, something you enjoy to build the hours, and something
Yep.
that you're not going to hate. Um, Give you an example. The last year I drove truck, I hated climbing up into that thing every morning. You know, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't stand it. But I had a goal at the end. My goal at the end was to go to flight school. And that determination got me through that last year driving truck, especially through the nasty weather. It
Hmm.
happened. But knowing your demographic that you have here, I always tell people we hire two types of pilots here at Silver Airways. We either hire the young guys that use us as a stepping stone, that are looking to, run off to, the majors, something. They're going to tackle the Delta, the United, the
Hmm.
American Airlines, UPS, FedEx, whatever direction they want to go. But that's their end goal. So they'll come here, they'll get 1,000 hours as a FO, they'll upgrade to captain, get 1,000 hours as captain, and then what they'll do from there is they'll go off to wherever they want to go. And we know our place in the industry. That's what we're here for. We know that. But the other group of people that we hire are the 2.0 guys. The guys that are looking to have a good stable career, come home in the evening. They're not looking to get in the plane on a Monday and come home on a Friday and be away the
Yeah.
entire week. So I like to use this one example. There's there's a flight that I bid for all the time. I enjoy it. It's a flight that goes Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Orlando, Pensacola, Pensacola, Orlando, Orlando, back to Fort Lauderdale. That's 4 legs in a day. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. But the good part about it is my wife will drop me off. It's funny. My wife drops me off at the airport in the morning, takes my son to school, drops him off at school, picks him up from school, then comes back to the airport, picks me up from the airport, and I'm done for the day. I got my 4 legs in. I'm home with my family. We play ice hockey, so we're off to the ice rink in the evening, and spending family time having dinner together. You know, at a lot of the other regionals, you don't get that lifestyle and
Yeah.
that quality of life, and that is one thing that Silver. besides the people here, the quality of life is the best thing that Silver has to offer.
Well, Geoff, on behalf of my audience, I want to thank you very much for making some time in your busy day to come and spend it with us. It's
Absolutely.
been great. If folks, if you have questions for Geoff, just put those down in the comments. I'll make sure that he's aware when the video is published so that he can answer questions for you. And if this is your first time watching a video with Fly with Trent, maybe consider giving the video a like if you found it helpful. Make sure you do leave a comment or a question, even an attaboy, because it does help the algorithm to show the video to more people. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, there are more on my channel and there is more coming, so maybe consider being a subscriber as well. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye.